Welcome to the episode of Sports and Data. Today we're going to delve into some pop culture, keep it a little bit light, and we're going to talk about something that's trending all over social media, and it's called the Black Boyfriend Effect. This is something that I'm very, very well equipped to speak on because I've been a Black boyfriend many times. I'm now a Black husband, Black father, been married for a long time. I have two biracial kids. So this is a topic that I can speak about very well. I'm also a man of advanced age, of wisdom, so I can impart to you what my thoughts are. But let's both start off with what is this Black boyfriend effect? What I'm seeing on social media is you see a woman, typically a non-Black woman, usually a white woman, and dressed in pretty drab clothes, and they're just chilling and they're showing themselves looking very drab and ho hum. Then there's an after picture, essentially where it's assumed they start dating a Black guy, and all of a sudden they're significantly prettier. They dress in usually very skimpy and sexy clothes. Maybe they have big hoop earrings, the hair is longer, more makeup, and they're in very seductive poses, and they're showing how sexy they are because they are now dating a Black guy. Conversely, I've also seen some instances where there are videos of somebody looking very happy and normal, and then they show the after the Black boyfriend effect, and it's them crying in bed because assuming there's the assumption that dating this Black guy has brought them a lot of heartache and pain, and now they're crying. All right, I'm going to talk to you about what this Black boyfriend effect is, how sports is driving a big part of this conversation. Sports and entertainment in particular is driving a big part of this conversation of the Black boyfriend effect. But first, we're going to start off with the data part, and then I'll bring in some sports analogies, and I'm going to talk about my personal experiences about it. Okay, so let's go through some notes that I took, and this is all courtesy of ChatGPT. All right, so let's talk data. First insight is relationship-driven identity shifts are real. A 2016 study in Journal of Social and Personal Relationships found that romantic partners often adopt the cultural habits, language, and values of their significant other, especially in early relationships. You see this all the time. In the first 6 months, somebody's acting a different way because they're dating somebody new and they're trying to be close to them. Cross-cultural dating accelerates this. People often consciously or unconsciously mirror their partner's culture to gain acceptance or express closeness. Makes sense? All right. Insight number two, TikTok trends show the pattern. TikTok videos tagged hashtag Black boyfriend effect and hashtag white girl glow up have millions of views. They showcase women before and after dating a Black man, often shifting from conservative looks to more expressive, fashion-forward, or urban aesthetics. I'll go a step further and say that it's usually more salacious and very sexy outfits. Black boyfriend effect. This mirrors what sociologists call cultural performance, adjusting visible traits to align with a new in-group. All right, insight number three, cultural appropriation versus appreciation. Black culture, especially through sports, music, and fashion, sets global trends. This is 100% true. Every time I go to Europe, people just think you're the coolest person because you're a Black guy, especially if you're a Black guy that's sort of fit and looks good. They think you're just like the coolest person, and you get a lot of notoriety for that. But the line between influence and appropriation gets blurred when people adopt styles without understanding the history or struggle behind them. That is true. A 2021 Pew study found that 60% of Black Americans feel that white people frequently appropriate Black culture, particularly in style and speech, without credit or context. Sure. All right. So, what is really going on with this Black boyfriend effect? There are three things that are happening here. There's what we're seeing as cultural transfer via intimacy. So essentially transferring culture from the Black guy to another group via intimacy. And Black men as conduits in trend setting in fashion, music, and street culture. And women are gaining cool points through proximity to Blackness. and this isn't new, it's just being digitized now. Um, in sports and style, you see it a lot with a lot of athletes like, Odell Beckham Jr., Allen Iverson, Michael Jordan, um, Usain Bolt, list goes on and on. These are the people that set global trends and become global icons around the world, and they set the style for what is cool. And you're starting to see people wanting to express some closeness to that because, for lack of a better word, it is cool. It is cool to be, at least, especially amongst younger people, to sort of be closer to black. Amongst older people, think 30s and 40s, it could be used as a way of essentially signaling to the world that you're a cool and understanding person because you have a black boyfriend or you have adopted some parts of black culture, and now you're signaling to the world that I am a very cool person and I'm a good person. I'm more tolerant. I'm more socially liberal, and in some avenues and in some cultures, that is very important to be able to signal that you are this type of person, this new person that's like advanced and thinking, and you don't see colors, all that stuff. All right. So that's good. Let me tell you what my personal thoughts are. Again, I've told you that I have had a lot of experience with this. I have dated interracially. I went to a school that had predominantly white kids. In my choice of career, there aren't many black people. So in my neighborhood, there aren't many black people. I've lived in neighborhoods where the numbers have shifted back and forth. So I'm saying this because I've been around lots of black people, lots of white people or non-black people. So I understand a bit of what's going on. Um, I think generally on a positive side, I think it's a good thing. I think it's good to show in the best way, trying to show black people, black men in a positive light. You're showing that you dated a black man, and now you're happy, or you've changed something, or you've learned something from him, and you feel better about yourself by engaging in this interracial relationship. That's good. I mean, that in a positive sense, that's a good thing. Um, However, when you start looking at some of the negative things, which may be hidden in within these like black boyfriend effect videos, is there's some things they should explore. One of them is, does it limit the way black men are being viewed? So I'll give you an example of one video that I saw today. It was an Asian woman. She had short hair, looked very academic before wearing button down clothes, button down shirt and pants and tennis shoes, and she looked very plain, for lack of a better word. But then she has a black boyfriend now. Now she grows her hair out. She has a lot more makeup on. She's wearing a tight black dress with heels, and she's really feeling herself, and she's being seductive and sexy. Hey, good for her. She's happy. She's probably happy about how she feels. But conversely, are you signaling to the world that this is what black men need, or this is how black men view women? That unless there's some sort of like overly sexual situation, that black man can't enjoy a woman unless she's like this, sex symbol, sex doll type person. Um, and some of that is implicit. I don't think the creator of that video meant any harm by it. But as a black man, there are certain things that I have to be cognizant of, and sometimes you don't always control how people view you. And sometimes people view you only through the images that they've seen in other places. So I've been in situations where people, especially women, when I'm thinking, going back to my youth, where you're trying to interact with somebody on a limited one-on-one basis, but then they start acting in ways that I know is not quite who they are. They start talking in different ways. They start, maybe do a head movement or something, or just they're not being themselves, and that can be a bit insulting sometimes. Speaking as a black person here, when somebody is going out their way to put on this different mask or persona that you don't think is truly who they are, and in the back of your mind, you start thinking, okay, how long is this going to last? Because I don't care who you are, you can't put on a mask forever. If you ask a certain way, everyone always regresses back to the mean. Let's talk some data here. data and science, there's always a regression back to the mean. So you might meet somebody and you, okay, I want to be more black or whatever, or you date a guy who does a lot of track and field and he works out. You're like, oh, I want to start working out with this guy, and you work out with him a few times and you show closeness to him, but then all of a sudden, about 6 months later, you're like, I don't really like this. Track is hard. Like, I don't want to run on the track all the time. So you started going back to yourself. And then the person who meets you is like, well, I thought I met this really cool girl who was really into all this cool stuff, but now they're not that anymore. And then that could cause relationship issues down the road. I'm just thinking here about all the issues that it could cause. And again, going back to the issue of like being overly sexual, as a black man, there's just this awful stereotype that's all black men think about, when in reality every man thinks about sex in ways, but for some reason it just seems to be hyper fixated on what black men want, as what black men want sexually. And I can tell you, like, I'm a black man of a certain size, so I'm 6'2". I'm somewhat muscular. I used to be a lot leaner, so you see a lot more muscles there, but and people just, women in this case, because I'm a straight man, would sometimes just view you only through the lens of like what your body looks like, and then start thinking about potentially, sex. But it's, I don't know. I'm having a hard time expressing myself because it is loaded with a bunch of stereotypes, and relaying a bunch of messages which may not necessarily be positive for black men. Okay. The final thought I have on this is how much sports is influencing the perception of what the black boyfriend effect is. In many cases, when I think a lot of these women, when they're thinking of the black boyfriend effect, they're not thinking about the average black guy. What they usually think about is like the elite or standard of black guys. Usually think guys who are 6 feet tall, have a certain size, usually athletes. They have a certain amount of notoriety and status because of their athletic ability. Maybe they have more money. So they think of what the black boyfriend effect would be if they were dating one of those guys, when the vast preponderance of black men are not that. So sports is really skewing how black men, the image of black men. I think sports provide a lot of opportunities for black men. You see it in NCAA, NIL deals, and in pro deals. It's good financially, but that's been great for some select, very small population of black men. But that is not most black men. And it would be nice if black men are viewed not just as their ability to, catch a ball, run a touchdown, um, kick a soccer ball, defend, whatever it is, dunk a basketball, run track. There have to be other avenues through which black men are viewed. I know something that's plagued me quite a bit, like especially having an athletic build. Sometimes people just think that's most of what I bring to the table, and there have been times when it has benefited me. I've definitely benefited from being athletic or being perceived as athletic, both on the field and off, and in real world. But I would like it for there to be more breadth about how black men are viewed. Anyway, so my thoughts about this. I think generally it's good. I think to the extent that you can start to view black men as good partners romantically, as good options romantically, it's a good thing. Um, but we'll also have to be cognizant of some of the potential negative stereotypes that this black boyfriend effect is introducing or reaffirming. So all in all, let me know what you think. This is a very interesting topic. I just started watching this Black Boyfriend Effect for about a couple of days, so I don't really know the full depth of it. I'm just giving you my thoughts. I know it's trending right now, but please like and subscribe this video and let me know what your thoughts are. Peace.